Hello everyone, Josie here, probably better known as CompleteIndie, and welcome to Battle of Wits. To celebrate Commander Legends, I took a commander from the set I found really nifty, and built a deck around it. So meet Obeka, Brute Chronologist. For 1 blue-black-red, you can use a free 4 Ogre Wizard that says the player whose turn it is, currently, may end the turn. It's a strange design, to put it simply. Most opponents just don't want to end their turn, so you need a really good reason to end your own. Which is why I'd like to introduce you to an interesting rules concept. Let's use the card Mimic that. You see here how it says at the beginning of the next end step? Well, if you reach the next end step, that trigger is put on the stack for the first and final time. So if you end the turn before it resolves, for example by stifling it, using Sundial of the Infinite, or using Obeka, the game decides it's done doing its part and it just lets you keep the creature. You can likely see where I'm going with this, and it's the majority of the deck. Akum Stonewaker, Chandra Flamecaller, and Firecap Blitz all create tokens that would otherwise exile themselves at end of turn. Meanwhile, we have a ton of cards like Apprentice Necromancer, Postmortem Lunge, and Whip of Erebos, which all serve as ways to resurrect our creatures but keep them after the turn. And cards like Gruesome Urge and Puppeteer Clique can steal from our opponent's graveyard, ending the turn to avoid exiling the creature. And Treacherous Urge and Zera Renegade Recruiter lets us steal creatures from the hand. Fate Stitcher and Corpse Connoisseur both have Unearth, which means we can reanimate and then exile at the end of turn. It can just be cancelled. We also have Cedrus the Traitor King and Dawn of the Dead, which reanimate our own creatures and can be kept forever by Obeka. Cards like Identity Thief and Faceless Butcher, and non-creature spells like Void Walk and Voyager Staff all let you exile a creature for the rest of time instead of the next end step, and Identity Thief even gets to copy the creature. Ilharg the Raised Boar, Shifty Doppelganger, and Sneak Attack are just some of many effects that put creatures from our hand onto the battlefield for the turn, but with Obeka, you put them on the battlefield forever. With new cards in mind, free cards that all have Encore are Phyrexian Trinoform, Brareblade Adept, and Coastline Marauders, and with them we can create free tokens that can stick around forever. This is likely how Obeka was meant to be used, if I had to wager a guess. Good thing we're ignoring that for the most part. Spinal Embrace and Slave of Bolus let you steal your opponent's creatures and just keep them for good, while abilities like Twin Flame, Mirror March, and Sahelia Rai all let you create copies of your creatures that also stick around forever. Cards like Hazard's Favor and Endless Whispers have downsides that can be negated completely, and cards like Furious Rise become infinitely more controllable. Additionally, there are some cards we want to end before our end step. Demonic Pact and Wormfang Manta both want the ability to be ended early to avoid losing the game or skipping our next turn. Once that's done, it becomes much more powerful. I wish we had some sort of outlet that let us cancel the ability once it's on the stack. Finally, we have 2 extra turn effects, Final Fortune and Glorious End, which had a huge downside that can be completely avoided. Like always, by the way, we have ramp and fixing like Arcane Signet, Chromatic Lantern, and Soul Ring. We also have traditional removals such as Chaos Warp, Counterspell, and Terminate, and common cards for Grixis that are just really powerful, like Brainstorm, Factor Fiction, and Nightscape Familiar. As cards that are expensive for the deck but worth including are Lifeline, Angrath the Flame Chained, and Memory Jar. Lifeline makes it impossible to kill your creatures, but can also let you end the turn. So, with Lifeline, you order the trigger so your creatures come back first, then once all of your creatures are back, you end the turn, leaving your opponent's creatures dead. Angrath the Flame Chain lets you force discards, steal creatures, and the ultimate is just overall decent. The deck has many treason effects, so it's not far-fetched to include one more. And finally, Memory Jar, which will exile each player's hand and draw 7 new cards. Instead of only being able to use those cards until end of turn, you can use this as some sort of pseudo Wheel of Fortune ability. Some interesting interactions with the deck include Void Walk and Wormfang Manta. By using these 2 cards, you can exile Wormfang Manta and take an extra turn thanks to its Leave the Battlefield ability. And when it returns during the end step in response to its Enter the Battlefield ability that make you skip your next turn and all your other end step triggers that haven't resolved, you can just end the turn. This means that if you can hit with the creature Void Walks encoded on each turn, you effectively get extra infinite turns forever. Puppeteer Clique and Void Walk also work well together, as you can flicker the Puppeteer Clique to get another creature and to remove the one counter that should be on it by this point, allowing you to get more creatures when it dies. As well as we have multiple effects such as Flame Shadow Conjuring, Mirror March, and Twin Flame, where if you have a bunch of them, it lets you completely fill up the board with whatever creatures you want, and you just have a huge army in next to no time at all. In total, the deck comes up to under $175, although due to price fluctuations, I don't feel safe committing to a specific price. It should stay under $175, assuming the card's value goes up. And it's of a pretty high power level. You can view the entire deck list down in the description below. Building this deck to celebrate Commander Legends was really, really fun. And there's a couple other commanders from the set I'd be interested in building. For example, Mardu Enchantment seems to be on my to-do list. So keep your eyes peeled. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed, and thank you all for watching. Be sure to leave a comment with a commander you want to see me build around, and I'll see what I can do. Leaving a like, commenting, and subscribing would be highly appreciated. You can watch my most recent video here, or this video that the algorithm thinks that you'll like. Have a great night, and ciao!